Push up and down. Pull down.
There you go. There you go. M&M's. What do you say?
You're welcome. Hey, Rex. Sorry, we had to get our breakfast before we could come on and talk to you. Hey, my name's Ranger, and my art car is Toynota, which is a 80 Toyota pickup, and it has 500 or 600 toys and musical instruments and musical notes on it on the outside, and a variety of kind of things inside, a variety of lights and bubbles and that sort of thing. I started in 2008, and that's when the recession hit. And when it did, I looked back at 2007. I was fortunate to be invited to play music at the Second World Music Festival in the middle of Thailand. And during that, riding down from Burma to Chiang Mai was about an hour and a half, and I spent that time with a Buddhist monk. And he was very knowledgeable about world affairs and politics, surprisingly. I'm a graduate economist. And so we had a wonderful conversation, and at the end of it, when he got off the back of this tuk-tuk pickup transportation, and I went one way and he went the other, he put his hand on my arm and he said, "You know, Ranger, we can talk about all of this world stuff and world affairs and how things should be better all we want, but the fact is we have to remember that the only people you and I will actually affect in the world are the ones we happen to run into." And it was kind of a toss-off at the time. I was late, he was late, and but a year later when the recession hit, I thought back to what he had said, and I thought, you know, I'm fortunate. I have a house, I have a job, and I had a truck. I had just put a white truck. I had put some CDs on the side, and people like those CDs. And so I thought, what could I do to cheer people up that I could afford to do? And this is what happened with Toynota. And the most important part of it, I think, is that it's like they say with altruism. I didn't ever think about myself, as it happens in this particular case, when I made the truck. And the first time I took it out for a drive, I realized that I'd given the best gift of all to myself. There's no way to be in a bad mood and drive Toynota, and it does bring joy to a lot of people. I feel like I should write a book of everything I needed to know in life I've learned from Toynota. People in black cars and fancy, expensive cars tend to go by and frown and deign not to notice what it is. As a generality, certainly not with everyone. Most people really smile and enjoy it. Older people really like it. I can see we're all going to move into a second childhood that a car full of toys will bring. And it's just been very fun. The art car group I didn't know much about. I came down to the Seattle Art Car Blowout in 2006, I think, thinking about maybe making an art car someday, and thought I'd make Legos. And they taught me that maybe that wasn't the best first art car, because a little known fact, Legos are patented. You know what they're patented for? They don't stick to each other, and they don't really stick to anything else either. And one of the people in the art car group knew that. And so then I thought, what else can I collect that's not too expensive? I went to toys, and I'm certainly glad not to have turned back. It's been really fun, and the best people in the world are these art car folks. And let me tell you, folks looking at this, that if you were on a desert island and they say, what would you like to have to be able to get off the desert island? Tell them a couple art car people, because they're so inventive and so creative, and among them they can do about anything that they want to do. Let me show you my car. This along the side, well, maybe we'll have just one more M&M. Oh, two, okay. Sometimes you have to make do. All the toys along the bottom are made so kids can play them. I started off with ones like this. Take batteries, and I still have a couple, but I'm really trying to move to mechanical. I don't like the idea of using all those batteries for a few hours and throwing them away. And at an event like this, they get hit by thousands of kids in a day. So all of these along the sides are playable. We have a bubble machine around the back here. There's somebody around. Can you point out where the bubble machine is for us? All right. Now you're not getting too close. If you get too close to the bubbles, you'll get clean. You don't want that. So be cautious about that. And we have one of the things that people like a lot about Toynota are the not real fish, but realistic fish that are up here. And I swear, there are sometimes when I'm afraid somebody will get a fishing pole and be fishing around in there to try to get those out. At night, there are a variety of lights and colors and so forth that take place that illuminate my driver and my passenger. For a driver, we have Minnie Mouse, and then the passenger is well, I don't have to tell you.
And as I recall, you had a late night encounter with a highway patrolman a few years ago on the way home.
I did, on the way home from the Seattle Art Car event. And we had a wonderful restaurant, I don't remember the name, that had been kind enough to host our Sunday evening kind of post-gathering get-together. And so we always stay, we have to say goodbye to everybody for the year, so we always stay longer than we should. It's about a 2-hour drive home for me is all, but that means you are driving home. And what happened was, when we got out of that, I took Minnie, who you saw driving, and Bugs, and pushed them off to the side so they're facing out the passenger window. And I had an outrageous hat that one of the art car folks makes and is known for making, and so I ended up with the hat on, and it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and suddenly about 30 miles from home there were blue lights in the back flashing, and what he said ultimately, ostensibly, was I have light strips up the back of these tubes, and they were white, and I thought that would make sense because they were facing forward. He said there was some glow, and so he really wanted yellow, which they are now. But he actually didn't care. He wanted to look at my truck. And what he did was, in perfect state patrol fashion as they teach you, he got out of his car and came around with his big long flashlight and took it like this and shined it in the window at Bugs and Minnie looking at him, and he was never able to really quit laughing or string more than about 2 sentences together after that. He would say something about, why he had stopped, and then he'd say, excuse me, sir, and he would come back and talk a little more. And to me, the punchline that means that he really wanted to he was bored and probably fallen asleep just like I was. It was good for both of us. Was that when I said, I should have just pulled those lights off anyway to travel probably, and so let me jump out and do that. And there was hardly any traffic at that point at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning on I-5. But he turned around and he said, no, there's still a few cars coming by. They're fine. You don't have to unplug them. And that was that story. It was really quite fun. One of the things that I like the most about my truck, and of course you can imagine, you get to see all kinds of people and reactions and so forth. But I love it when you get 3 generations. I haven't had a 4 generation yet, but a number of 3 generations. So you have grandma or grandpa, and mom or dad, and the grandkids, and they talk about the different toys that are here because they're different generations. And so grandma might say, well, when I was a kid, all we had was Mickey, or we didn't even have Mickey and Minnie, the Disney characters then. And then the mom will have seen another set. The kids will have seen the latest set. And it sparks stories back and forth about their childhood. Oh, when I was a little girl, here's all we did, or we didn't have this, and we didn't get to go to movies, or whatever they say. So that's really fun. I think the interaction with people is the part that I like the very best out of the art car world. And then once or twice a year, you get to meet with another group of art car people. This is the biggest one here in Seattle at the Seattle Art Car Blowout, part of the Fremont Fair, the 3rd weekend in June each year. And that's really my favorite. I get to see wonderful people like this guy holding the camera here, Mr. Chubaru Rex, because they're just some of the nicest salt of the earth people you can imagine. So if you get a chance to come out to an art car event at any time, or if you see an art car, be sure that they'd be glad to tell you about it, why they started with it, and what it's been like. And don't be surprised if they encourage you, as I do, when people say, well, how do I get started? I say, put a large item on your front bumper, like this big red airplane that I put on my front bumper, and after that, it's easy.
If you're lucky, I think you can go maybe for about $22 to $25. If you're lucky.